All right. Ready to go? Ready to rock and roll, John?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, let me see
Let's do
why
it
this
to it.
isn't full screen real quick. There we go. Full screen. All right. Ready to rock and roll, John?
Where's that sound coming from? Oh,
Not me. Oh, that's me. Jeez, got too many
No, I got
devices. All right, we got
my
it?
phone. Yeah, I got it.
All right. Super professional start to the show. That's what I like to see. That's what I like to see. Hello there and welcome to the Rogue Podcast, a Star Wars show. Today we're going to have myself, John McKeever, CJ Jones, and David Hilaritas will be joining eventually. I don't know where they are. Not going to lie. We had this time planned days ago. Apparently
Days.
CJ said he started eating dinner at 8. David said he was doing laundry. Oh, I think Dave's hopping in right now.
Keep it going. Keep going. Keep
On
going.
the screen. But either way, we're gonna get started with the show. So today we'll be discussing Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 5. Now I've been gone for 2 weeks. I do apologize. I know you've missed me very much. But been protecting the country and keeping all you little people safe. But we're really excited for this show, and I'm really glad to be back and talking about Star Wars with you guys. So without any further ado, let's just jump into it. I know you guys talked quite a bit about episode 4 and
Yes,
how
we
it was good, not great, I think is the best way to say it. Kind of lackluster.
bland.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
little lackluster. But they came back hard with part 5. I mean, the very beginning. So here's the way I'm viewing this, okay? We just got back from the field. We're sitting at in a hotel room. We hook up on my buddy's laptops to the TV and say, let's all watch Disney Plus, or let's all watch Kenobi together. And we're all sitting back on the hotel beds, like up against the wall like this, right?
Oh, that'd be so much fun.
And we're just
I
laying
can
back,
imagine it.
sitting here, up back against the wall on the beds.
How many of you? 4, 5?
Four of
Yeah.
us. Yep. And then the Obi-Wan Kenobi title card goes across the screen. We see the sand, yada, yada. And then, boom, Coruscant. And instantly, whoosh, all three of us jump to the front of the bed, and we're just like this. Like, and then you get the scene of Obi-Wan
Panning out
and
over
Anakin over the
Anakin.
Jedi Temple. Man. And like, it just instantly just, oh my gosh, finally. It's just, it honestly just kind of
Finally.
makes you a little upset because why have we not been getting this the whole time? It seems like one of those things where the Star Wars creators are just like, what would our fans like? How about we just do that once?
Yeah. And wait till the very end.
And wait till the very end and just have 4 episodes of them saying, this is frustrating. This is frustrating. Why don't we get the thing we want? But anyways, it was absolutely great to see Anakin and Kenobi start up their little training session. Obi-Wan looked great. Anakin.
See, I would flip-flop, but Kenobi's hair was all messed.
Did he not?
I just-
I thought he looked just like Attack of the Clones.
I watched Attack of the Clones or pull up a screenshot.
Really?
It's rough. His hair, I mean, it was great. I didn't care, but if you were gonna nitpick it and compare side by side, it looks pretty rough.
Really?
Hayden looks better because his appearance in Attack of the Clones is easier to replicate, but because Kenobi's got the hair, the mullet is just very difficult because for most of the scenes it was his real hair.
Yeah.
And when you rewatch it, I rewatched it 2 days ago, and you can tell when he's using a wig because they had to do reshoots or whatever.
Right.
And then when it's his natural mane, and I think it was a wig in these flashbacks. It looked like a wig just because it was like jutting off to one side. It just and his hair is darker too. In Attack of the Clones, it's more
Interesting.
reddish brown.
I guess I didn't look as closely as you did, but I felt Obi-Wan.
I've seen the episode 4 times.
I've seen
so.
those scenes a few times. I just rewatched the episode for a second time, but just a few minutes ago. But I thought he looked really good. Anakin looked good, but he definitely looked a little older. Which, I mean, he is older, so there's not much you can do about it. I suppose they could have de-aged him. I did see some people did de-age him.
Mm-hmm.
On YouTube, and it did look, of course, much better, but it's just kind of weird that these million or billion-dollar companies go and do a scene, and then like some dude with his computer's like, I will make it better by myself.
Yeah.
It's happened
Some
like three
people
times now.
some people are trying to say that they slightly not de-age, but did the little smudger to get
Sure.
off some of the wrinkles. To me, it just looked like some makeup.
Yeah, I think
It
so
didn't
too.
look like any
No digital stuff.
computerized
Yeah, I agree.
de-aging. It just looked like
We are
makeup,
nitpicking so much.
yeah, which is fine. Like
Yeah.
it didn't in the moment. Yeah, it was whatever, but
This episode was great though. I mean,
yeah, it
through and
definitely
through.
has the most rewatchable value, obviously,
Oh
since
yeah.
I watched it 4 times, and it never felt slow, but in my mind, we got the most character development from Riva, from Kenobi, from Vader
Yeah.
in all the other episodes combined.
It focused on the three main characters really well, which is something
Yeah.
I don't think that. I mean, the show has followed essentially just those three characters, but it's been so like semi shallow, I guess you could say in a way.
Very shallow.
Yeah, that like you haven't seen a lot of growth outside of Kenobi's struggle with what's going on. I mean, that was really hit the first few episodes pretty well, but this one just really dove into what was really happening over the last 10 years, and we got to see a lot of that backstory with Riva and everything. So I really liked how it opened with that initial scene of them training, but then to go to Obi-Wan getting back with what's her name, Leia. I'm sorry, my brain is getting mixed up because I wasn't
Tala
here.
and Leia.
Yeah, I wasn't able to review the last episode with you guys, so I keep mushing episodes 4 and 5 together. Like, there's things I want to say about how apparently Vader did get stopped by the fire. But I'm like, wait, that was episode 4 that showed that he just got stopped, so whatever. But we're on to episode 5. So let's start off with just our initial ratings. I was trying to hope that CJ and David would hop in here by now, but we'll just jump into it. So my initial score, I want to say 10 out of 10, but again, that would be perfect. And it was not perfect, so I'm going to give it a 9.5 with some very minor things that critique it a little bit. So I'll say 9.5, and we'll get into those critiques later and why I think it was so great.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it I'm caught between a 9 and about like 8.7, 8.8.
Sure.
Just because those nitpicks are kind of odd.
They're getting slightly annoying at this point.
Yeah, as you're filming and staging, is it just a matter of like, all right, we got to get these shots out. Come on, let's go. Don't think about it. Just film it.
Yeah.
And it seems like this crew is not good at the larger blocked shots with all the stormtroopers, the stormtroopers versus the rebels. That whole scene was so jarring, and the tracking of shots and the staging of where the camera is, where's Riva, where's Kenobi, it just was so muddled and shaky cam to the max to where you couldn't even really figure out what was actually going on, and you just got to kind of sit there and wait for it to be over and then figure out what's happening.
So Todd says that he would give it an 8. I'm wondering why, what knocks it down low for you. And then Kayla says, are there any Star Wars movies, books, animations, etc. that we would give 10 out of 10? I'd give Revenge of the Sith a 10. I would probably give Empire Strikes Back a 10. I would give the last 4 episodes of the Clone Wars would be 10. The episodes of Clone Wars where Ahsoka is being hunted, I would give a 10. Where she's being hunted by the
last 3
Republic.
episodes of Clone Wars.
Last 4.
4, yeah, because there were 4 episode arcs.
Yes, that's I would say that.
Actually, I did rewatch a little over half of Revenge of the Sith this afternoon, and I tried to watch it with the same sort of eye that I've been watching this show.
Just critically,
it's for a different episode, but I can't give it a perfect 10.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's things here and there, but okay. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of the show a little bit. I don't really know how I want to attack this because there's so much, but like the vast majority of what we like about it is going to be the last like 10 minutes, you know? But what about the leading up to everything? So, setting the premise, Kenobi gets back with Leia and Tala, and they get back to, but what's their name?
Jabim.
Jabim, thank you. I keep trying to say Bajim. They get back to Jabim.
That's the next planet.
They get back to Jabim and find out that they need to leave ASAP just to try to cover for in case the Empire's following them, anything like that, and get these people out of here and get Leia back to Alderaan, not knowing that Reva placed a tracker on Leia. Okay? So, shortly
Lola
after...
on the robot.
Yeah, Lola, yep. Shortly after they arrive, the robot, Lola, goes into a vent and shuts down the cargo hatch so that they cannot leave, and they're set into a frenzy, right? Cut back to the Empire, and Vader is very impressed with the third sister and her ability to track Kenobi to Jabim and this rebel base, or not rebel base yet, kind of rebel.
Kind of.
They're
sort of.
rebelling, and they've got snow speeders, so...
The path, one of the main parts of the path.
Yeah, one of the primary things that they've been looking for is a way to find more Jedi. So it makes sense that this would be a key target for them. But, and we see him name her the Grand Inquisitor.
Oh, man, my blood was boiling, dude. I was like...
So I still at this point was like, there's no way Disney is going to... kill off their own, because they wrote Rebels. Like,
yeah,
it wouldn't make sense for them to say we're going to undo our own canon. That'd be like if they went back and just undid the sequel trilogy. So I still knew that he was going to come back. So I figured this was a temporary thing. You thought that it was saying the Grand Inquisitor was dead?
I mean, in the moment, yeah. But that's what I was saying. You start a story arc in an episode like that, you finish it in the episode.
Yeah, which they did.
They did, and they did.
Yes,
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was okay with it.
If they would have not revealed that the Grand Inquisitor was still alive this episode, can you imagine how angry every Star Wars fan would be right now? Or every Star Wars fan that watched Rebels, at least.
Oh my goodness.
We would be freaking out. Just like, you gotta be kidding me. They're literally gonna undo their own thing. Yeah. I think what Todd is saying here in our comments, he says, it's funny that everyone loved the throwback to episodes 1 to 3 that they hated so much. So saying like the hated prequels, maybe people will go back and watch them and gain a new appreciation for them. Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen have touched on this. The critics originally gave the prequels a pretty low score, but there were so many Star Wars fans that loved the prequels, especially as the years went on and as Clone Wars came out. And those people that haven't gone back to watch them again, like you said, don't understand that they're really great stories. So I think a lot more people like the prequels, and a lot of the people that have been praising these flashbacks are people who've always been fans of the prequels. So maybe there are people out there that thought the prequels were awful and really liked this flashback, but in my opinion, I think that the flashbacks aren't as hated anymore as people originally thought they were. Mm-hmm. So that would be my response to that.
Absolutely.
So what did you think of that, David? We're kind of just getting into the weeds a little bit. So
overall rating, we can't hear you.
Yeah,
you're muted
still, David.
The flashbacks.
So we talked about the flashbacks quite a bit, and just the original, the first flashback, and then we talked about the initial scene where they're on Jabim getting ready, trying to leave, as well as Reva being tabbed the Grand Inquisitor. First off, just give us what your out of 10 was.
I would say probably 8 3/4.
8.75.
Yeah,
that's about what John said as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then the beginning of the episode. So before any conflict starts, any notes or whatnot on how all that started? What do you think about Reva being tabbed Grand Inquisitor?
In the moment,
yeah.
So it did make sense. It kind of played to my suspicion that, they were just stringing her along, and she was a Jedi apprentice youngling, and all that stuff got kind of confirmed. So I liked it, but it was fairly predictable.
Yeah.
I felt like, but I liked it.
Okay. Sorry, I feel very off my game today.
It's been a couple weeks.
It has.
Good to see you, Jake.
Good to see you too, David. Been a while. You guys, I listened to the episode you guys gave last week. Liked it a lot. Very good. Very good. So, anyways, moving on. So, trying to organize the episode in my head.
I mean, I have it sitting
Yeah, I
right here.
suppose you watched it quite a bit. So we go back to Jabim.
Yeah, and they're all just kind of hanging out, talking about what they're supposed to do. And then I think at that point is when they shut down the door, and maybe another flashback in between there. But they shut down the door, and that part irked me a little bit, where they're like, he has the panel. And I feel like throughout this episode, we'll kind of talk about what we liked and didn't like with each scene, as opposed to normally we bash on it for a little bit, then we talk about good things, and we bash on it a little more. But he literally has a panel that has wires that go into there, and he isn't thinking to go to there. Yeah. But then it's brought up, someone who's never been there before.
It's like, go climb up in the vent and see what's up.
And he's like, I'm not going in. Like, he knew.
Yeah. That whole thing was like weird. And then Leia's like, I'll climb up in there. Get me a ladder. And you're like, oh boy. All right, 10-year-old princess, go do your electrical work. But apparently it was a fairly simple thing to do, because they said just plug in the red breaker and it should work. Yeah. So I guess it's not that like she was doing some serious engineering or anything. But that was just kind of an odd interchange. But I think it was a way that they had to get Leia out of there, so they didn't Vader didn't have to see some connection to her or whatnot. And that way Obi-Wan didn't have to carry her around everywhere he went. So I guess that was the one way they tried to do that. Although he could have just said, hide in my robe while I fight Vader. He'll never see you.
I mean, it didn't bother me too much. I don't think it's out of the ordinary to believe that she has received some sort of electrical training.
Yeah, and her dad is the kid who built C-3PO at the age of 11 or something. So she clearly might have some, characteristics carried on through there. So, but yeah, we're moving into the meat and potatoes of the episode, where the Empire shows up, and I love the interchange of Obi-Wan and Vader matching the training sequence, where Obi-Wan says, there's no way they do a long siege and just keep us in here. Vader doesn't have the patience for that. And then it cuts to a trading sequence where Anakin's just full go, pressing the attack, and opening himself up to different ways that Obi-Wan can escape around him, just because he's just trying to win the fight as quickly as possible, and his need for victory blinding him to what else is going on. It was a great parallel. I just love the way they use that scene throughout the episode to kind of show the characteristics between Anakin and Vader. And the one thing I really, really loved about this was we've all kind of talked about how the heck can Vader just beat the ever-living crap out of Obi-Wan in episode 3, and then come A New Hope, Vader says to Obi-Wan, when we last met, I was but the learner. Now I am the master. Well, this episode, to me, very clearly showed how he's still a learner. And it even says later on in that
the flashback.
Yeah. Obi-Wan says to Anakin, as long as you have a need to prove yourself and that need for victory, you will always be a Padawan.
Yep.
And I think that come next episode, we're going to see that still be a problem for Anakin. And that still be why he's still the learner compared to Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan may not be as powerful as him. Honestly, Obi-Wan's never really been as powerful as Anakin.
No.
Not at any point, right?
No. Yep.
But because he had an understanding of the Force and an understanding of being able to be mindful of everything around you, he was able to outwit Anakin. He was able to outplay him on Mustafar, and he'll be able to outplay him in the next episode of this show. And that's why he is still the master and Anakin is still the learner. So I think that's really, really cool that we're going to see some kind of finalization around that. Because honestly, that could have been a huge plot hole that we would complain about for weeks if that's what happened.
Well, and that was an initial plot hole that one of my buddies that I watched it with complained about, that they're more or less they're not supposed to meet, the same kind of Anakin and Dooku, the same kind of,
Anakin and
you
Grievous.
know, yeah, Anakin Grievous, all those different times when, oh, they're not supposed to meet, they're not supposed to meet, and I was like, yeah, obviously this isn't what George originally had in mind, but if it's done well enough and well enough to show that, yeah, Anakin is still a learner, he still thinks he's all that in a bag of chips, and then next thing you know, he's missing an arm.
Dude,
Maybe
we
he
got to
should-
see Anakin lose another arm.
I would love to see battle damage Vader, but I don't think they will fight again
What? There's no way.
because initially I thought that as well, but you kind of answered your own question. In 4, he says, "When I left you, I was but the learner." In the flashback, Kenobi tells him that he's thinking of, "You'll always be a Padawan." So in that moment, he is still the Padawan.
Yeah, but it's going to be shown further. That has
You think
not
so?
played out yet.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
There's no way they have a finale of this episode without them fighting again. There's no way.
But what Kenobi has to go back to Tatooine right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the
But
end of
the
the
thing
episode's
is,
leading.
at the end of the episode, they don't have a hyperdrive.
I know, which is kind of like
So-
I think we'll theorize at the end.
Yeah, we will. So I don't know that they get there, but I wouldn't be surprised if Reva gets there some other way.
Yep.
So we'll get to that later. But I there's my brain's going in so many directions with that whole plot line. So we'll see what happens. So I just love that parallel. But throughout the whole episode, seeing how what they were doing as they're going throughout this battle and this exchange, even though Vader's not even on the planet at the point, is just paralleling so well that duel that they had. It was really cool to see. So Reva launches this attack, and they start going through the process of barricading the doors and saying we need to buy as much time as possible, yada yada yada. And Vader sends 2 ships of stormtroopers. Cool to see some purge troopers again. A little callback to Fallen Order. I love seeing those. I wish we would see them like really in action, because when they
They've
start
been useless.
yeah, when they start fighting Obi-Wan, they're just doing the exact same things as stormtroopers dying.
Yeah.
But
And
it would
I
be
don't-
cool to see.
I would nitpick their helmet a bit. Their helmet, just like we talked about last week, it just kind of looks more like a scout trooper, whereas in Fallen Order, they look more like paratroopers.
Sure.
Where it's the helmet that kind of has like the 3 ribs down the side. So I was kind of like, they
I
look
mean,
just
and,
like
and
normal
this is
stormtrooper
this
kind
is
of thing.
5 years after Fallen Order as well, so the design can change, things like that. We know that happens, so we'll see. What else? Oh, really good interactions with Tala this episode. I felt she was a pretty good character this episode, talking about how he will not heal until his mind heals, which is something that we've seen throughout this whole episode. His connection to the Force is not as strong as it should be.
When have we seen him heal in this episode?
Never.
No, but he just talks about it to her after.
Okay.
Yeah. So after the episode after the scene where he goes and looks at Bail Organa's message, right? Tala says something to him of the effect of,
Yep, it's actually up right now.
yeah, your body is not fully healed, and not only does your body need to heal, but your mind needs to heal as well. And she said something to the effect of, some things can't be forgotten, but I forget what she says after that. But essentially, to me, points toward why he hasn't been able to talk to Qui-Gon, why he hasn't been able to interact with the Force in the ways that we've seen him do in the past. And I think that in this upcoming episode, we're going to see him finally come at a piece of the mistakes that he's made, because he's still, even in this episode that we just watched, living with so much guilt, so much regret, feeling like a failure to Anakin, feeling like a failure to be able to stop him, to be able to kill him. Everything that he's done, he just feels like a failure, and he's not able to move on and become centered in the Force, right? It's just not, and that's why he's had no communication with Qui-Gon. So whether Qui-Gon might reach out to him and help him get there, or maybe he does that on his own and he can finally commune with Qui-Gon, I think that's where this is going.
I would hope so.
And I think that's what's going to be able to get him to be centered in the Force and being able to fully confront Vader and defeat him. So, or at least escape him with Leia, because of course he won't kill Vader. I think that's what we're looking
I'll be
toward.
right back.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on that? I think she kind of is foreshadowing that a little bit in that conversation.
Yeah, I hope so. I kind of, that scene to me was a little silly. It just felt like
A plot device.
a plot device to help us or to make us like her more. So when she died, it was more impactful.
Sure.
But because we already knew that. We already knew.
Yeah,
that
but I think that the more attuned Star Wars fans know that. But I think that just the casual viewer probably needed that help to kind of understand why he's not the place where he should be. But also, we should get into that little hologram that Bail Organa sent. It makes no sense that the first thing Kenobi does is to delete that video so it never falls
or
into the
crush
right hands.
it.
Yeah,
Well,
something.
yeah, or
But he just hands it to some guy he barely knows. You know,
I mean, even from Bail Organa's side, why is he
sending a recording.
sending a message?
If Obi-Wan's
giving
captured,
everything that someone would
Yes.
need to find
like
him.
speak in code or very vaguely or something, he's like, "I'll go to the boy on Tatooine."
Like,
It's just like, no, just say,
maybe-
"I'll go to the other child," or
Not
"I'll
even that,
rest."
just like, I'll take care of the asset
Yeah,
at
something.
the specified
He's-
location of which we both know.
He's like, "I'll be going to 321 Sandust Lane on Tatooine to rescue Darth Vader's son." And it's just like, oh my gosh, that's a little risky there, guy. And then Obi-Wan's like, "Here, take the sensitive information, and I won't even tell you it's important not to lose it. You just hold this for me." And like, I'm like, what? I feel like that is not anything he would do. But yeah, it was absolutely
Plot device.
wild.
Wonderful plot
Yes.
device.
CJ, welcome to the show.
Hello.
We miss you. The show quality has been since you're not around.
It's been Kenobi level.
I don't believe that.
It has been. Trust me, it's been bad. I've been
Okay.
shaky.
Yeah.
Overall, we've all given our rating. What would you give of the episode?
I'd give it probably an 8.5.
Okay.
8.
So
What were
we're
y'all's?
8.7 to 9.
For me.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess for all of us.
Yeah, all of us were on there. I said like 9, 9.5. David said 8.75, and then John said 8.7 to 9. So we're all in the same realm.
Yeah.
But it
It was much
great.
better than the two before it. That's
Oh,
for sure.
it's much better than the whole show combined.
Yeah.
I feel like we're still forgetting. I think the first 2 episodes were really solid, so we can't forget that.
Yeah.
I think they were too, but
Yeah.
I think the two after that were.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when
Pretty
I
bad.
view it, if I ever view this again, it's gonna go 1, 2, 5, and hopefully 6.
You'll just skip
Yeah.
3 and 4?
3 and 4 don't need to exist at all.
What? I feel like 3 was good enough to. I'll watch the whole thing
Yeah.
in sequence. I mean, I might have my issues with it, but the whole
It's
story.
just,
flows
nothing
together.
happens. Really, nothing happens.
Nothing
in three.
happens. Vader and Obi-Wan fight.
Okay. But that not like
No,
I
I
said,
don't remember that.
nothing that has zero importance.
I strongly disagree. But anyways, move on. Move along. So CJ, to catch you up, we are
Mhm.
just discussing like a lot of the plot devices they've used, kind of parallel Anakin and Obi-Wan's training to the fight
Yeah.
that they've had, and then just how that was really cool. We touched on that, and we also touched on the Bail Organa transmission just being kind of like
Yeah.
a really odd thing that was done.
I heard at the end of that, the
Makes
pre-recorded just out there in the universe.
I know, just send it out there for anyone to pick up. I mean, if Kenobi was captured as he feared, you know that Vader's gonna be like, interesting.
There's a
Yeah.
trial on Tatooine. Hmm.
Yeah. Anyways, that was poor writing, but we can move past that.
Can we?
I think so. So let me try to retrace my steps.
The confrontation at the door. How did you guys feel about the confrontation? I know we'll get your thoughts first, and then I'll tell my thoughts, and then some problems that I've seen of people talking online.
Okay, I haven't watched any videos on this. I've just been far too busy with National Guard stuff. So any thoughts I have are strictly my own.
It's a good thing.
Unlike some times when we hop on here and I've, watched the videos and whatnot. But anyways, I would say that the idea of Obi-Wan trying to buy time by talking to her and appealing to her makes sense. The flip side of that being that someone just walked up to this door and was like, "Hey, stop shooting! Obi-Wan wants to talk to her." to the Inquisitor. And then the stormtrooper's like, all right, and walks over and is like, hey, they said to stop because Obi-Wan wants to talk to you. And then her to go, all right, and walks up to the door. Like, that whole process is just kind of like, what? But I do think that if Reva hears Obi-Wan wants to talk to her, I think she probably listens. And I think that's fine. People have been like, why would they talk through a steel door? You're not going to be able to hear anything. I also disagree with that idea. The thing's been beaten and battered. You could probably hear through it, first off. And second, it seems that he reaches out through the Force and is trying to sense her. And we've seen many times people talk and commune through the Force. So that obviously could have been happening as well. But then even in the cinematography, when it flips to one side of the door, the other voice is muffled. So I don't think that was really necessary either. I just think they can communicate. So the premise of that whole conversation makes sense to me. But I do think that him kind of piecing together what happens, especially as he's, probing in and trying to feel her emotions and whatnot, I think that's really cool. And I think some people might have issue with it.
I think CJ has issues with it.
But it makes sense to me on how he gets there. Because if you can sense someone's emotions and whatnot and be as wise as he is and just trying to put things together, I think that makes sense to me. What was your issues with it, CJ?
It's just that they I think this is a comment maybe on the overall show, but I feel like a lot of characters just put things together really, really fast. Like, in my opinion, maybe reasonably fast. And I guess first part of that makes it make more sense. I don't know, maybe I'm just dumb, but I sometimes have a hard time following how they get from what they're talking about to like what their conclusion is with the information that they provided. Like, so I don't necessarily mind it. I don't think it's major. It was just, I didn't follow it as well, I guess, as y'all did. And so it didn't resonate as much. My thought afterwards was more like, how'd they get there so fast?
So walk through Kenobi.
How did Obi-Wan get there so fast?
Yeah.
I kind of understood it because, like, if he's using the Force and feeling out her feelings, and he feels the anger, and then he's like, "All right, like, is it directed at me? No, actually, it isn't really. Oh, it's directed towards
that's what
somebody else."
I don't understand how he would know that it's not directed at him or Jedi in general.
Does anyone have the whole scene like memorized? Do you remember exactly what he said, John? Because I feel like there was a point at which.
Let me read it.
Okay, so let's walk through. I think I can remember. He says, "You mean Anakin?" And he's like, "How would you know that Anakin is Vader?"
That was the missing piece.
Yes.
Yeah, without him knowing that, I feel like everything
There's no way,
that he figures out falls apart.
Yeah, but when he knows that Anakin, he says Anakin would have kept that a secret that he's Vader.
Yep.
So the only way you would know is if you knew him. And he says, "You're too young to know him." But he's like, "Well, unless you were a youngling, unless you were there," and that's where he realizes it. And then he probably could sense that he got onto it, with, just by having that connection to her. So
I guess that's the thing that I missed is the Force part, because like if it's just me, non-Force CJ,
you're one with the
I hear
Force.
that, and she's like, well, she must not she's not trying to secretly kill him, but I guess with the Force you could kind of piece that together better. I don't know. I just didn't the first catch that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are missing that when he puts his hand up on the door. I took it as that's him, like him using the Force to try and be a Force
attuned.
Force empathy is what I would call it. I think that's in the Legends power.
He's just trying to connect.
Yeah, so he's using Force empathy to try and really because that's, in my mind, that's why she shares as much information as she does. Otherwise, it doesn't really make sense why. And that's what a lot of people are having problems with, is that she's like, no, it doesn't matter. I'm not telling you. And then all of a sudden she just.
Well, I think she's very
tells them
conflicted.
everything.
And you can sense conflict in people, at least. I mean, even like regular people, you can tell when someone's conflicted. But Jedi especially can. And I think her character's conflicted this whole time because honestly, she's a Sith for the sole purpose of killing the Sith that killed her Jedi friends. So it's like she's doing the work of the Jedi, but
that is a typical Sith thing to do.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like she definitely has that conflict of getting revenge on someone who wronged her and who
Yeah.
destroyed her family, which was the Jedi. You know what I mean?
Revenge does wonders for the will to live.
I guess my thing with that is she seemed more cruel and more like far gone than even like her brethren, the other Inquisitors,
Mhm.
And that's
especially in
bad
like the
writing.
first episode.
That's bad writing.
So a question was asked, two questions, by our listeners. One being, do you think Ahsoka will make an appearance? I do not. I don't think it would make sense in
No.
this case. I don't really think it would, especially this late in the show, just for her to pop in for one episode. I just don't think that makes sense. And then also if you go back to Rebels, Vader didn't know that,
Ahsoka was alive, right?
and Ahsoka didn't know that Vader was Anakin either until
yeah.
Rebels,
Took
which
a
is like
while.
Yeah.
8 or 9 years after this.
Yeah.
So I don't think that would make sense.
Yeah.
But another question that was asked is, the series started with Order 66 and the Younglings. Did you go back and see if Reva was in that episode? And it was. It's the same little girl was in that beginning in the first
we
episode.
we all more or less suspected that
Yeah.
the girl
Yeah,
that
right
it
away.
focused on initially was her.
So she was there for Order 66, and like we said that in the beginning, we had a little argument about how could she escape, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh well, she would just run away, and Vader wouldn't see her. Well, then they kind of like backtracked. I think that would have made more sense. Would have been if
Yeah, I
she
agree.
ran away and Vader never saw her. But the idea of him cutting two younglings in half and then stabbing her through the stomach and then walking away and then her living through it, like, that seems highly hard to believe. Because now they're saying Reva has been stabbed in the stomach and lived through it as a youngling
Yeah.
because of, I guess, the will of revenge keeping her, or the revenge
which
giving her the will to survive.
That is just makes no sense to me. Of
And then-
where a 10-year-old girl, a 10-year-old youngling, doesn't matter if she was a boy or a girl,
Yeah.
a 10-year-old youngling who's been in the Jedi Order for
5-6
most-
years. Yeah.
all of a sudden knows how to tap into the dark side with revenge to keep
Well,
herself
and you
alive.
know, nobody came and, I mean, maybe someone came and saved her if like Quinlan Voss is hiding around there trying to collect up the ones, but she said she just laid there and felt
And
the
hid.
bodies go cold and she played dead, which is, I mean, I suppose if you get shot with a bullet in the stomach, it can take you
Yeah.
days to die.
Mhm.
So I suppose if we think about that, it's understandable that you wouldn't die right away. It's
Like,
just
the
we
wound
see-
would be
cauterized, so you're not going to bleed out. So I
Except for Tala getting shot by the blaster bolt.
yes, dead. Well, she didn't die from that. She died from the grenade.
Yeah.
But Qui-Gon got stabbed in the stomach and died. I don't know. But then
Yeah.
the Grand
I
Inquisitor
hate
gets
this whole
stabbed.
stomach thing. Like,
Grand Inquisitor gets stabbed in the stomach. He lives. Reva just gets stabbed in the stomach for the second time by Vader, and she lives. And it's like everyone's just stabbing people in the stomach and saying, "Good enough," and they walk away and they come back 3 episodes later. So it's just kind of.
So another thing with this, like if she's afflicted earlier, I don't understand how the power of like hate could keep her alive. I feel like you'd be really, really turned if your hate is so strong that it can keep you alive from a deadly wound. Like by the time you're 20, whatever, you're not conflicted anymore. You're pretty evil.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
I would
Anakin.
imagine.
I mean, and she started that revenge cycle even younger, so it's
Yeah.
even harder to unlearn.
See, but I feel Sith are always somewhat conflicted because they're always looking out for their best interest, and your best interest constantly changes based on your emotions. And Vader himself, yeah, to be fair, Maul was chopped in half, as one of our listeners says. But Vader himself, even come Return of the Jedi, is conflicted about whether or not he's been on this path for 20 years. And he's been the most evil man in the galaxy. And a few conversations with his son turn him to the light.
But that's
So-
the thing. It's his son.
It's fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
but we
the
see
last-
extraordinary.
we see Darth Revan turn to the light. We see
Legend.
Kylo Ren turn to the light. People
his father.
consistently. He wasn't turned
Luke-
because of his father. He turned because
Luke-
of Rey.
Well, plot armor. Ray. No, not Ray. Luke was able to turn Darth Vader because Luke is the literal, in Vader's mind, the last connection he has to Padme, and that was his sole goal in life. was to bring Padme back to
I
life.
mean,
So essentially in
we
front
can
of-
add that in now, but that wasn't when George Lucas wrote the original trilogy.
He had all. Maybe he didn't have Padme's character written out, but he had.
Never
He had
once in the
structure for
movies,
everything.
never once in those 3 movies was Padme or him wanting to be connected to Padme any of his motivation.
What do you remember about your mother? Your real mother.
Anakin never says that.
No,
Or
just
Vader.
Luke.
Vader had no,
Just Luke
no.
one time.
If you,
You get what I'm
if you
saying?
would've- If he would have brought up Padme, man, it would have been over.
He's like, Mother wouldn't have wanted you to do this. He'd be like, you're right. I'm sorry.
Kryptonite. Kryptonite.
Martha.
Cringe.
Oh, that would have been a bad way to end
That was
Star
awful.
Wars.
Yeah, that was the worst.
All right, we need to get back into this episode a little bit.
Oh.
Going off the rails. Where were we?
I mean, yeah. So he's using in my mind, he's using force empathy on
Oh,
her,
yes,
getting
yes.
the information, and then why doesn't she just cut the door down? To
She did.
begin with?
Oh.
No, after
it
they
was too
shoot
thick.
it.
It was too thick.
To weaken the walls because the lightsaber doesn't make a straight circle enough.
Yeah.
That was kind of annoying.
Yeah, I mean, maybe honestly they had battered because they were saying we're getting in trouble. I mean, they've been shooting that thing for a while, so maybe the door was thicker. I don't
They
know.
shot it 3 times.
It had cut away. They shot it many
No,
more than
no,
3
that was
times.
stupid.
I
You
don't
should
know.
just
No.
She should've
Little
just cut it
thing.
right
That's a
away.
little thing that I don't need to worry about. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah.
That's how I
Don't
feel
think
about it.
Did you guys watch Josh's
No.
Den of Nerd stream?
I do not.
There's a song where he's like, "Don't think about it too much," because that's how you have to go through
That
this
is.
show.
It's how you
Don't
have
think
to.
about
If you
it.
think about it too much,
Really
you're gonna
is.
get frustrated. But how'd you feel about her denying his help? I feel like that was within her character. It made sense that she would.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's like,
Yeah.
I'm doing this on my own. I don't need you. I like that she was angry at him for his failure on Anakin. You know what I mean?
That was
Like-
good character building.
Yeah, and it showed how she was also. It was also irrational as well. Like she's blaming Obi-Wan for not being there, but Obi-Wan was literally killing the Separatist general and riding his lizard. You know, he was a little busy. Is that Attack of the Clones, Obi-Wan?
Yeah,
Okay. Why are you
no,
showing
just
this?
because he's such a pleasant-looking man.
Oh.
I was like, what is going on?
Yeah. And then it was interesting as well when she says, "Do you really want Anakin dead?" I thought that was a heavy line because you would
Yeah.
think he's still conflicted about that, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, and people complained that Obi-Wan didn't fight Vader well enough in that episode 3, but I think he's just now like he had just learned that Anakin was still alive. And him wrapping around the idea of his Padawan still being alive, his guilt was so much stronger once he found out Vader was still alive. And the emotions that are there, I still don't think he wants to even kill Anakin, you know?
He's like,
I
oh,
mean,
great,
he couldn't
the
finish him on
demon's still
Mustafar.
here. Yep.
It was easier
Yeah.
for him to leave him burning alive than to go and put a lightsaber through him and to finish it, you know?
In response to Reva saying, "Where were you when he was killing my friends?" To what Jake said.
What to say?
Oh.
I was writing I can't
I
read
was
it.
riding a big lizard, Reva. I'm sorry.
The Bogamine.
Oh,
I mean, to be fair, he was hiding from the clones, so but she doesn't know that. Younglings weren't briefed on the missions of the generals. Okay,
I was swimming and sneaking around Utapau, dude.
so I like she goes and says, "I don't need anyone's help," and just starts breaking down the door herself. The following exchange, the battle was pretty cool, seeing the stormtroopers march through in overwhelming numbers and knock down.
They hit some people too.
They did hit a few. They did. They missed a lot, but they
Right,
hit
so yeah,
quite a
here's
few.
what I can complain about this scene a lot, just because it was shot so poorly, directed
was.
so poorly, staged so
It
poorly.
was.
They made up for it with a bunch of this.
Camera moves and lasers flying across the camera, and it was frustrating. It looked like low budget kind of, you know.
And all the stormtroopers are going through this area about 10 feet wide. All the rebels are standing in an area about 10 feet wide, and about 3 people die.
Yeah, and
It was just like,
the two most casualty inducing weapons on the battlefield are just like standing behind, you know. I mean, Obi-Wan's standing in front blocking, which is what he would do, trying to protect as many as he can. But Reva's just like walking behind them, just like
Yeah. And there's about 8 other lightsabers chilling in the container.
oh, yeah. What is
Why-
that? have
why
to do with
didn't-
anything?
Yeah, why didn't someone just grab one of those lightsabers and just chop up some stormtroopers?
If you don't know how to use a lightsaber, a blaster is going to be much, much better.
I dual wield, dude.
You just run around. You'd run at one stormtrooper, 2 lightsabers, and you'd be instantly dead because you're not blocking squat.
No. I'd use a gun and
It would do you no good.
nah.
That'd be like bringing literally a knife to a gunfight.
A lightsaber knife, dude.
You can't block anything.
No, you don't have to block.
I guess,
More
I mean,
about
it'd be better than
intimidation.
punching someone. I guess we did see a few people like grab stormtroopers.
They can't hit you anyways.
Sure. That makes no sense.
Because they're stormtroopers.
Okay, so they retreating through, and I agree, the battle could have been much better. It did not seem like a movie level scene, but they retreat back through the tunnel, and Tala gets shot. Obi-Wan very distraught, and that droid protects her. It's funny how every time there's a Star Wars droid brought in, he can have no lines even, and it's somehow you're emotionally connected to it. I was like, no, not
I
the
was
loader
more sad
droid.
I was more sad when Ned B died than when Tala died. I'll be honest.
100%, 100%. Ned B was a legend, man. He saved Obi-Wan from Vader somehow. But that was one little thing that bothered me. The whole grenade thing. Like, girl, throw the grenade.
Kick it.
That grenade should have been thrown a long time ago.
She like holds it up and is like, "Here,
Yeah,
everybody, I've
she's
got a
holding
grenade."
She's holding onto grenades with stormtroopers standing in a 10-foot area. Like, what are you doing?
And then she just
Marty
lifts
did
it up
that
for everybody to see. And like, she could have easily tossed it and knocked out like a good 30 of them. And she just holds it in her hand. It's like, what are you doing, woman? Oh well.
She
You
knew
guys
she was being
remember,
filmed.
That's
Yeah.
officers. Officers don't know how to do battlefield anything. They're just.
Do you know
totally
how-
ignorant.
That's true.
That reminds me of Call of Duty, like Modern Warfare 2.
Where you
get the right
cook it for
perk.
too long?
No, you get the perk, and then when
Martyrdom?
you die, martyrdom, you die with and the grenade just goes
Oh
off
yeah, it
and
just
kills
goes off.
everybody.
Yeah.
But then even respectively, neither does Kenobi nor Reva use the Force
Yeah, he
on
doesn't.
the detonator.
He doesn't pull her away. Reva doesn't push the grenade away. It's just like sometimes I feel like the writers forget that they have like literal superheroes in their show that can do almost whatever they want.
And-
But
and
then they-
Telekinesis?
But then they remembered when Vader came on.
Yeah.
Boy, did they remember. Let's
they
get
had
to
a
the
limit.
good stuff.
They had a force meter, and they
Yes,
have a
they,
limit on
they
how
couldn't
much
go
the
too
show
high.
can use it.
Yeah.
So
So
I mean, Kenobi. Just bro, on last thing, when the door's closing and Kenobi's just like watching, it's just have him getting pulled something to make it make sense why he's not using force powers there.
He tripped.
Something.
Something.
So then Obi-Wan doors close and it flashes back to Anakin and Obi-Wan fighting, and Anakin is just bearing down on Obi-Wan. He says, "Admit it, Master, you're defeated." And it cuts back to Obi-Wan saying, "It's over. We can't fight anymore. There's nothing we can do about it," which was really cool to see that sense of hopelessness in Obi-Wan. And Vader decides, stop back, pull back the troops. He's beaten. I'm going to come take him in myself. So Vader's overconfidence and thinking that he has defeated Obi-Wan brings him in. And Obi-Wan saying, "I know what Vader thinks is that he has won and that there's nothing I can do but surrender, and that surrendering is the only option I have. So I'm going to play into that." And it was really, really cool to kind of show how Vader was still the learner. And he was still the same Anakin from Attack of the Clones that has not yet learned his lesson. Still the same Anakin that on Mustafar, even though he did not have the high ground, thought he was in the position to win and to be able to jump over Anakin and be overconfident again, and having to prove himself on his own. Vader has to prove himself and come defeat Obi-Wan on his own, even though if they just kept pressing the attack, Obi-Wan was dead, you know? But his need to prove himself was his undoing, just as Obi-Wan said it would be, just as it was on Mustafar. Love the parallels there. For the poor writing that we've had, that was some of the best writing we've had so far in this show. Also,
the
this
parallels between the flashbacks.
Yeah.
Is
the flashbacks and just the characters they have in general. I mean, this matched so well with the characters of Anakin in Clone Wars and Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. It just meshed with their characters really well. It was really, really good to see. And it just shows how Vader's not quite the Vader he was in A New Hope yet. You know, he's still transitioning.
well, even we kind of skipped over a little bit. Kenobi surrenders, which you mentioned, Jake, but then he says to Reva, "I'm bringing
Vader to you.
You're not bringing me to Vader. I'm bringing Vader to you." And that's, some people had problems with Kenobi just walking back into the fort, but in my mind, that's Reva and Kenobi. Reva saying,
Working
"Fine,
together. Yes.
yeah, we'll work together on this, and you can go back
And
in
I
there."
think that's where Vader knows, okay, she's ready to try to betray me. You know, I think at that point, he already knew, I think, that that's what Reva was trying to do. But at this point, I was like, okay,
Really?
now it's ready. I mean, he says, "How do you not think I saw it coming? I knew who you were this whole time. I knew your goal was to eventually try to kill me."
I was confused by that.
Yeah.
Well, he knew
I was
he
like,
knew
finally.
he knew she was going to betray him at some point. I
Yes.
don't know if he would say
I
would be
think-
at that moment.
I think you can kind of
With
see it in his
Kenobi.
facial expressions that when
Facial expression.
when he
Vader.
says where is he, and he says, "I've kept him secured inside," and he goes in there and he's gone. I think at that point he knows something's up. You know what I mean? Because why would you put him in there when you could just keep him right here surrounded by hundreds of stormtroopers?
Well, Vader doesn't necessarily know that he surrendered outside the wall.
I suppose that's true.
He's waiting on his ship like a good little Vader. You know, he doesn't do anything anymore.
Yeah.
Walk slow.
All right, so then Vader gets there, and the show really gets going. I mean, does it get going? So Kenobi quickly dismantles. Wait. What? Before we get into that, what was the interchange a little bit more with him and Reva?
Kenobi and Reva?
Yeah. So he says, "You're not bringing me to Vader. I'm bringing him to you." There
And
was
then they-
something else that
Hang on,
I
Well,
feel
he's
like.
trying to get her to turn. He's like, it's
Yeah.
not too late. And she's
Oh
like,
yeah, he says like there's
Oh,
families behind
there's-
here.
yeah,
Do you
yeah.
want them
I
to?
think that's
Do you want Vader to
what-
do the same thing again? And it kind of just, she's like, you know what? This is where we take him. This is the day I kill him, you know? So that was cool. But again, it still seems like she doesn't really want Kenobi's help, though, you know?
Nope.
Because I feel like they could have fought him together, but she doesn't want to. She wants to kill him herself. So
Right.
Kenobi gets away. They run back to the ship. Leia and Lola get the doors open, and we'll get to that in a second. But the idea of the ship just like flying past a Star Destroyer makes absolutely no sense. But anyways.
Well, let's go back to the second to
Hangar
last
doors?
flashback.
Yep.
The second to last flashback when is it? Let's see. I have it-
Yeah,
I have it up
Anakin
right
knocks
now.
the lightsaber out of his hands.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he does the sick behind the back move
Yep.
in that scene. There's some tacky fightings where he does like a twirl,
Yeah.
a spin, and it's a little like, all right, you're wide open to it.
But it's the same stuff they did in Revenge of the Sith, though. I mean, there was extra moves, and people are like, "No, they were using some special force powers to try to find an opening." And it's
You
like,
always go for that one. You
I
always
know,
go
but-
straight to
but
that one.
their-
I would
their
say
bodies are
Phantom
wide
Menace
open.
had a lot more
sure, yeah,
of those, but
just
Revenge of the Sith
stylized
was-
fighting.
Revenge of the Sith was pretty tight with not random flourishes that would leaving yourself open
Yes.
to
Yes.
a hit.
And I think also in a training setting, like, they're not actually
Yeah,
killing
yeah,
each
yeah.
other,
And
so
that
they're
would be-
trying to have a little more fun too,
Yeah.
probably, and trying to show off if you can. But it was cool when Anakin knocks that lightsaber out of Obi-Wan's hand, and then Obi-Wan fights without his lightsaber, and then as he's
Yeah.
about to surrender, he says, "There's more ways to fight than with a weapon." I thought that was pretty cool as well, because
Yeah.
he's just outthinking Anakin once again, and then being able to defeat Anakin in that whole parallel that we talked about. So then, Vader starts chasing down Kenobi, and just the determination, the pace with which he's walking, menacing, absolutely menacing. I was just like, even before everything that we saw, which happens in the next 10 seconds, I was like, this is just great. He doesn't need anyone to come behind him. He's just hunting these people down, walking like an absolute stud. The
He's
ship
like-
starts to take off, and he just grabs it out of the sky. My gosh, was that not one of the coolest things you ever seen in Star Wars?
Force Unleashed.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Star Killer pulled down a whole Star Destroyer, but
Realistic.
yeah.
When I was watching this, I thought, oh, man, of course he's gonna watch them get away again.
Yeah.
They're gonna fly. What?
That would have been so frustrating if they just got away and that's how the episode ended. That would have been so frustrating. But for him just to pull it down, and it was intense too. It wasn't like he just grabs it and just like pulls it down, or that he even struggled. Like it was the perfect balance of him just using pure extreme power to rip this thing down and like shut down its engines, but also for it to not look difficult for him, you know?
Yeah, while also squeezing it.
Yeah. And then he just rips off the side of the ship. Man, absolute power. I was like, and they did that whole scene really well because I was shocked when it was empty, you know? I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense. And then for the other one just to blast away really fast before Vader could get it. Really cool.
Quick little tidbit. Did you catch when the transport ship was kind of hovering and starting to come down and the engines were sputtering? It was the same sound once again for the pod racers when the pod racer sound of it sputtering. It's the same sound effect.
Now, what you guys, CJ, David, John and I talked about this before the show started a little bit. Did you guys have an issue with that second ship getting away, even though Vader just pulled down one?
Yes.
Yeah. What were your thoughts with that, CJ?
The thing was, like, as you guys said, first one pretty easily. Like, just right away, he was able to snatch it out of the air before it took off. I don't understand. Like, it wasn't like he had far less time, unless he was just drained. I don't understand why he wouldn't be able to grab that second one just then. I think it would have been made if it had taken off after Reva had tried to like strike him, and then it like gets away because it has divided attention. But if I'm remembering it right, that one just kind of gets up and goes away.
It went much faster. It went much faster.
Yeah.
I still feel like he could have just grabbed it though.
Yeah. So
at least like a little bit.
At least some effort.
Yeah, I think
he just watched it.
I think him trying to reach for it would have made sense. I think it getting away doesn't bother me because the Force uses like actual energy. People get tired after using the Force. So like Vader easily could have been like nearly exhausted from that. But you would think he would still try to reach out and grab it, unless he just knew his own limitations. Yeah. Or throwing a lightsaber at it or something. I don't know. But it makes sense to me that it got away because he definitely was caught off guard. And
it has to get away, but it should have gotten away in a way that looked like flowed better visually. I think
they could have easily done that by just having it jump to light speed right from.
Well, but that's for their plot later on in the episode. They say that their hyperdrive is damaged. And that the Star Destroyer is right behind them.
Yeah.
So.
Of course it is. Down.
So then we get the classic, you idiot. Why do you turn your lightsaber on then swing when you could just turn it on?
Kylo Ren style.
Yes. But Reva walks up behind Vader, very sneaky, and goes, and then starts to swing. Instead of just going, dead. I mean, it's a lightsaber. That's how lightsabers work. You don't have to swing, you know? Like one of the best scenes is when Rey is fighting in The Last Jedi and she catches the lightsaber Kylo throws her and she just turns it on. It goes straight through that guard's head.
Rey tosses it to Kylo.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, okay. That's what I was just referencing about 60 seconds ago.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. But why would you feel the need to have to cut him in half?
She wanted to enjoy it,
I suppose.
And
looks better on camera.
It does look much better because as he swings and as she swings, my gosh, was that not one of the best duels you've ever seen in Star Wars?
So yes,
really one-sided.
Well, yeah, that's I'm totally fine with that. It should have been.
Where were your eyes when the duel was happening?
On Vader the entire time.
Yeah. So don't rewatch it and look at Reva because especially when after Vader throws the second lightsaber,
She
I'm
just starts
watching her-
spinning on the ground
I'm
and
watching
stuff.
right now. Like she's like just spinning around on the dirt, doing absolutely nothing.
I know. I watched it the second time, and it makes
But
literally
to some
no
extent,
sense.
it's to defend it. It's like, what else?
She's
is she
just
gonna
trying to stay away. She realizes she has no shot, and she's trying to do whatever she can.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was weird. Maybe that's just her fighting style. I don't know. It's called the crawl.
do? But Vader was. It was too
Dubstep.
easy for Vader.
Oh, I
Too
loved
easy.
it. And the one thing that
Yeah.
was really cool about
In a
it
good way.
is this whole show, people have complained about, and not that much, but slightly complained about how the other Inquisitors were such buffoons and she is so much more powerful than the rest of them, or at least more ruthless, you know? And she seemed to be like the big bad, super powerful, very scary. She would defeat Obi-Wan if they actually got in a fight, maybe. And she looks very powerful. She's running across the buildings, yada, yada. Everything we've seen her do looks very powerful. And then she comes up against Vader, and she just looks like a literal child trying to fight him, you know?
All bark, no bite. Kind
Yeah,
of thing.
and it was just so cool to see him just playing with her. He never had to draw his own weapon, you know? He never had to draw a weapon, period. At
She
any po-
wasn't worthy of his
Yeah.
weapon.
At any point, he could have just choked her to death if he wanted to, you know?
Mhm.
And I just felt that was an absolute amazing way for him to say, yeah, I'm not going to kill you quick. I'm just going to play with you. And I'm going to block every single thing you do. Just turn out of the way. And then it was just amazing.
The when he
Stop.
breaking her lightsaber in half and throwing it to her.
I don't
that
think
the
it was actually
biggest, like-
breaking. Like, I
No,
think
no,
they're
yeah, he
designed
took
to
he
the
disassembled it,
yeah.
but like, all right, let's
He's like,
at
"Here
least
you
do
go."
something.
Yeah, this will be good training for me. Yeah, absolutely savage. I loved it. Honestly, one of the coolest scenes in this whole movie, like stills, was when he pulls out the two lightsabers at once. That's nothing we've really ever seen before. Vader holding two lightsabers. That was sick.
Nope.
I love that.
Except as Anakin.
Yeah, that
Twice.
was awesome. That was awesome. I really enjoyed seeing that.
It was a good.
I might have enjoyed it a little more if he went Count Dooku and just chopped off her head.
That the biggest issue I have with the episode.
Yeah,
Honestly.
Yep.
that he just
It's a
stabs
big
her.
one. Yep.
Yeah,
Doesn't
like
make
we've
any
already
sense.
established this has happened twice before. and
Thrice
people have
now.
lived.
Yes.
Well, twice like involving. I don't know. Vader did it to her. She did it to the Inquisitor.
And now he's done it again to her.
Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of ridiculous that they keep stabbing people in the stomach and just leaving them. We said that before you guys hopped on. We talked about
Yeah.
this.
And it's a very much a reach, but she could potentially even have cybernetics in her
But
stomach.
the Grand
She
Inquisitor
could.
Didn't.
She could. Well, Grand
No,
Inquisitor. So Paulians have two stomachs, though.
That is the dumbest thing. The writers did not know that. Nobody knew that until Theory said it on his channel, and then that just got. I'm so sick of hearing that and having that as a reason why he lived, because the writers were not thinking. No one was thinking about that when they had this.
Really? You think so?
Oh no
100%.
way! The actor, only because this is that thought process has gained traction online is the actor actually on Jimmy Kimmel. They used that in their bit where Jimmy Kimmel's like, "So your character got stabbed in the stomach," and then then whatever the guy's name is goes, "One of them." Like
Yeah.
that would not have been a question or a response if this whole
Really?
the
I
whole
don't think
online
he
thing-
watches Star Wars Theory.
No,
That's
it's
just
a huge thing
rumors get
online
out.
though.
Oh,
It-
yeah.
because
Probably people have been hitting him up on Twitter and whatnot.
that
Yeah.
or like Twitter, people defending Twitter, defending his death and others saying he's not dead.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Yeah, no, he didn't watch Theory, but because Theory said that, it got it went through all the channels and he saw it at some point.
Mayhaps.
Or Kimmel's team saw it.
Either
and was like,
way, it
"Hey,
doesn't
let's
bother
do
me that
this in
much.
the interview.
It is
No,
just
it
annoying that
doesn't.
people keep getting stabbed in the stomach. And it's like, you have a freaking lightsaber. Chop off their head.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, Darth
Again,
Vader
though,
doesn't
it's also
leave
annoying that they
prisoners.
would even like do that.
With the
Like,
stomach thing.
Just have him not be stabbed and have this grand reveal of what everybody should know all along.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I felt like it was supposed to be like, oh man, but it was kind of like an eye roll, like, oh, he's finally back. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
You guys waited 3 episodes too long.
Which is why, in my
Yeah.
opinion, this should have been episode 3, because we don't drag this aimless reveal out for the whole show. Which
Sure.
is, they didn't present it as a large reveal, sort of
No.
like gotcha if you didn't.
I think it was
already
just
know,
I
which is most
I
of
think
you.
this is one of those things that's not supposed to be a surprise to the audience, but supposed to be a surprise to the character of Reva. You know what I mean?
which it wasn't.
It was a
enough.
surprise to her.
really.
She thinks he's dead.
And
She, yeah.
she survived a gut shot herself. Why wouldn't she
Yeah.
think that he couldn't?
He was also
I don't
named
know.
Grand
Logic.
Inquisitor.
I just don't think that we were supposed to think he was dead, because I think they know the vast majority of their fan base knows who the Grand Inquisitor is. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think they thought that we were supposed to think that. I just think it's a weird thing to choose to do.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'd much rather see, and I'm sure we could write our own series of Kenobi.
Oh, absolutely.
But
it'd be great.
having Grant GI take Reva's place and the Grand Inquisitor fighting for Kenobi to one-up Vader in front of the Emperor. So just kind of take everything up a level, which raises the stakes and raises the tension.
Sure. I don't know. I've enjoyed the character of Riva. I know people have had issues with her, but I think she's had good conviction, and her path that she's gone through from being the youngling and now to trying to kill Vader, I think it's been interesting. So I've enjoyed her character.
And that's another reason why I would have rather have this been episode 3, is because then we understand her intentions early on in the show, and she can develop even more, because episodes 3-4 she had no development at all.
I think if this whole entire show is released on one day, we don't have near as many complaints as we've had
Yeah. Probably not.
through watching it in 6 weeks. We will definitely have the complaint about the fire scene, 100%.
Yeah.
That one's not going away.
The
Like,
tunnel.
you guys talked to, yeah, that one bothers me a little, but not as much. I feel like one line can fix that, but like the fire one is just, you can't fix that. That's just stupid. You know,
Yeah.
I wasn't on here last week, but when we find out in episode 4 that he just got away because the fire was in Vader's way, and then 1 week later you see Vader pull a freaking ship out of space, and you're like, oh yeah, that fire must have really got him. You're just like, how stupid. Like, I don't understand how the writers' heads went to the point where they're like, all right, then she shoots the thing, fire gets in his way, the fire he just created and put out and dragged Obi-Wan through literally for fun is now stopping him. It just makes literally no sense, and somehow it went through a whole editing, producing, directing team. Like, I feel like Hayden Christensen or
And
even
reshoots.
Obi-Wan would have at least been like, no, this is not how this would go. Like, someone needed to say it, but everyone just kept their mouths shut and was like, all right. Makes no sense.
I figured it out. Darth Vader is the Martian Manhunter.
What?
They don't
Fire
like
is his
fire.
weakness?
Oh, okay, yeah.
No. Okay.
I got you.
I forgot.
John has
I've seen Young Justice.
I mean, people have brought that up. Like, is it like PTSD from Mustafar?
No, that's stupid.
I'm like,
He
that's
lives on
dumb.
Mustafar.
He freaking
He
lives
wouldn't
on
drag him through
Mustafar.
it if he was afraid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Silly.
It's
And
bad
then,
writing.
I mean,
That's
he
what
could
it
have easily just grabbed him again with the Force and pulled him in.
It's because of the robot.
So stupid.
He is a
The
robot.
robot
so
has a pure heart. His aura stops it.
Hard to Disney.
All right.
How
So,
about that? How about that? We didn't talk about the robot being nobody.
yeah, I know. How
Yeah.
disappointing. The more I thought about it, the more I was like, that robot's just going to be a robot. But
Yeah.
we spent like
Not
45
buying that stupid Lego set.
We spent like 45 minutes talking about that freaking robot. Oh, so disappointing. Oh well, it is what it is. It would have been weird for there to be a person dressing as a robot though, probably.
But the
been
robots
real
don't
odd.
do this.
I
And
guess they
gripping
do.
the hammer
I
like
guess
with
they do.
clearly digital.
I mean,
fingers.
that robot in Rogue One
Yes.
had a ton of personality.
So does R2.
Yeah.
But even it looked like a human hand in a leather glove.
It was. There
It
was a
was,
person inside of
I
it.
know, but it even looked like that. That's what they said. Yes, that's the
Yeah.
look we want.
Well, it looked like that Arthur meme where he's just holding his
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
ruins
So
my characters.
They get away again, and this whole show really has been just cat and mouse. But
Yeah.
he gets away,
Episode 7.
and they're like, all right, what's wrong? He's like, something's wrong. And Reva sees the hologram, bits and pieces of it, but she's able to put together it's a child on Tatooine.
She gets all the knowledge she needs.
Yeah, all the fluff goes away.
She hears Owen's name again. Sure, she hasn't forgotten him.
We'll finish
I like
up.
this
We'll finish
man.
up the wrap up of the episode, and then we'll talk about theory. So she sees that Obi-Wan says something's wrong, and then the dude, I forget his name, says the hyperdrive is broken, and they're right on our
Roken
tails.
is broken.
Is that his name? Roken?
Roken.
Yes. So Roken's broken hyperdrive is keeping
That
them.
sounds like a cool mech shop.
Yeah.
No.
I'd
So
go there.
what is going to happen next? So let's go ahead. We've talked about the episode plenty. What happens in the finale? My theories are all over the place, but I feel like there's going to be something Oh, and then we see Luke sleeping. So we know the story's heading back to Tatooine.
How about Kenobi having a mental breakdown when he realizes? Well, first of all, what do you guys think he realizes? I think he realizes that Reva now knows
Yes.
that Luke exists.
Absolutely. I think he's so attuned in with Luke and his mission that as soon as someone finds out about Luke, he senses it.
Apparently not, because he just kind of left willy-nilly.
Well, yeah. Well, not willy-nilly. Leia's just as important as Luke is, as Bale says. So I think you're right. I think he realizes that. But what happens from here? Because he doesn't have a hyperdrive to get to Tatooine.
Also,
I don't know what's gonna happen. Is a Star Destroyer just gonna like encapsulate them like the Tantive 4 in A New Hope? Is
but also, what does Reva actually know? Some people are positing that she knows
that it's Vader's child?
She knows it's Vader's child, which I don't think she can know. I think the only things she can know is that there is I think she can
A Force-sensitive
deduce
child.
it's a
that
Force-sensitive
Obi-Wan's
child
protecting. Mhm.
on Tatooine that Obi-Wan knows about, and Owen was also in charge of.
Protects.
I don't think she can know anything else.
Yeah.
People are saying she knows now that Leia and Luke are brother and sister, and they're both the kids of Darth Vader and Anakin, and they're both Force sensitive. I don't see how she can know that.
I mean, yeah,
You know what?
it's odd, but I mean, if she's been hunting Vader for years and years and years, she could know about Anakin's family on Tatooine,
I don't think so.
like the
oh,
Lars
family on
like the
Tatooine?
Lars family.
Oh. Maybe?
I doubt it.
She traced back his mother and finds out about his mother being married to Owen Lars.
How's she gonna even know what his mom's name is,
Plead
though?
Lars Skywalker, Shmi.
But she changed her last name, didn't she?
I mean, but originally
Like-
she was Shmi Skywalker. I'm sure there's some slave sales records.
That would
or
be
something.
a reach.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I hope happens is I hope she doesn't know that it's Anakin's child unless she like meets him. But she's alive. She knows Obi-Wan's protecting a child. I hope she fights. She goes to like use it as leverage for Vader, and Obi-Wan kills her.
Yeah.
I think Obi-Wan's gonna kill her. I think that is going to happen.
I hope so.
I think so. What's her motivation for getting Luke? In my mind, at this point, she's now mad at Kenobi again because Kenobi, in her mind, set her up to fail there. So she's mad at Kenobi. She's going to go to Tatooine to kill Luke to get back at Kenobi. I don't think this is getting back at Vader at all. I think this is purely getting back at Kenobi.
I don't know if she can make the connection through like a sense, his ability, like his just natural ability.
No way.
She probably would have with Leia, because Leia's supposedly pretty strong too. But if they could find some way to make her sense that it was Luke's and that or that it was Anakin's child, and that set her off with anger, I think it would be a stretch to get the sense though.
See,
But
I feel like there's going to be something like now that she's lost to Vader, she realizes she can't beat him on his own and that she needs Obi-Wan. And I'm not sure what the whole thing's going to play in with Luke, but I think her and Kenobi are going to try to team up to kill Vader. and it's going to end up being her and Kenobi against Vader and the Grand Inquisitor, and maybe even some of the other Inquisitors, and that Vader eventually kills her.
I feel like she has to be.
Gets away.
And she, the reason she's trying to protect Luke, because maybe they go to Tatooine, I'm not sure, but she's trying to protect Luke, and she sacrifices herself so Kenobi can get away and protect Luke from being found out.
So you think that she's redeemed at this point?
I think she will be.
Oh, because at this point, at the end of episode 5, she's still out for revenge.
Yes.
That's arguably the only thing keeping her alive. She should
Yes.
die right now if she's not still in the dark side using revenge.
I think that she still uses Asajj Ventress always used the dark side too, but she eventually used it for other things, because the dark side's all about selfishness and what you want. And if what she wants is to be able to help Kenobi kill Vader, or if she thinks that Luke is the next thing that can kill Vader and she wants to protect him so that he can, I don't know. But she can continue to use the dark side to meet her own personal gains. So I don't think she's going to necessarily turn to the light.
Also, we kind of skipped over the important thing about how they're stuck without a hyperdrive.
Yeah.
I think Bail Organa shows up. I think Bail Organa is going to pop up.
Someone. Bail could show up with an army to get Leia. And then Obi-Wan has to try to go back to Tatooine, or something like that happens where he has to draw attention away from everything. But if Bail shows up, though, then I feel like Vader would not let Bail survive.
Also, he said he was going to Tatooine if he didn't hear from Kenobi. So I feel like he's going to go to Tatooine.
Yes.
So maybe we'll finally get
some
Voss?
Luke stuff. Yeah, Quinlan Voss could show up with a few ships.
Someone's got to show up at the end of the
because
day.
if their hyperdrive's broken, there's no way they escape a Star Destroyer. Unless, we could see something like A New Hope where the ship gets encapsulated by the Star Destroyer, because Vader's still on planet, right? So while he's coming back on the shuttle, and this would be very convenient, while he's coming back on the shuttle, the Star Destroyer could encapsulate it. Obi-Wan can lead a little mission to get on some other ship into the Star Destroyer, and then they can fly away.
That's just going to eat up so much time.
It would.
The rumor is we're going to have about a 60-minute episode.
We really need to. For them to wrap everything up, it needs to be.
People are claiming an hour and a half, with their reason being that they are releasing this to theaters.
They are?
They are releasing it in select theaters.
Oh, I should look that up.
In Canada, and I know at least in Canada, probably the US if they're doing it in
But
Canada.
yeah, that makes sense to be a feature film length.
Someone's breathing.
It's
really
David.
loud. I thought he's muted. Anyways, the runtime shows an hour and a half left, but the schedule is slated to have 30 minutes of Q&A at the theatrical release. So I think that's going to eat into some of that hour and a half runtime.
Interesting. Well, either way, I think it's going to be a heck of a finale, and we're definitely going to get another fight. The idea that they don't fight again is bonkers.
Yeah.
They're going to fight again.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I hope we get a nice prequel style fight.
I think, because here's what has to happen still. Obi-Wan has to get to be one with the Force and has to be at peace. The show has to end with him at peace, because by the time it comes around to A New Hope, he's at peace. And we know that they originally did not plan on 2 seasons of this. There's rumors of of McGregor and Christensen trying to get a second season, but originally this is supposed to be a 1-season show, so it's going to have a finality to it. It's going to have a final ending. So we know that he's going to end at peace. We know he's going to end up talking to Qui-Gon, and that's going to take serious time. The final battle is going to be long, and then they're going to have to wrap up everything with Leia getting back to Alderaan. They have to wrap up the situation with Luke. Like, this is going to take time to end. So I imagine this is going to be a pretty long episode.
Hopefully.
But episode 5, banger. Absolutely great.
Yeah.
I really hope that we keep up the same plot line. As long as that, I think that I will have a very positive experience with this show, as long as episode 6 does not ruin any canon. You know what I mean? Like, really create some stuff where you're like, they have ruined something from episode 4 that's really dumb. I really hope that doesn't happen. I know that there was some leaks that came out about the finale with Riva. I think we have already discovered that. I haven't looked
Yeah,
at them.
I can't wait to watch them once the show is over. Honestly,
Yeah, to see what
I
was
think
right and
part
what
of
was wrong.
part of the leak was that Riva was gonna find out about Luke.
Yes,
I
I
know
think-
that was part of it.
I think
Was that
that's what it
all of
was too. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'm not
Um,
gonna watch it yet.
I'm
but-
not going to either. But I do know that Josh, in theory, talked about it, and Josh
Theory
said
doesn't
to-
know about him at all. But
I
yeah,
know.
don't-
Josh said to Theory, he was like, the fans are upset about something Riva does that affects the trilogy. And I think it's just that she knows about Luke.
I don't think that. I feel like she's going to
Save him.
be the reason that Luke is saved and not Kenobi. So people are gonna be mad that Kenobi didn't do his job.
That doesn't bother me.
Yeah,
If that's it, I
that's
can
not
live
that
with
big
that.
a deal.
No.
But I think it's gonna be something to where we can't look at A New Hope without thinking about Riva
Yeah.
in a large way.
And
That's
like
what
I said,
feel.
I know she's bothered some people. She hasn't bothered me as a character. I think that her conviction for her decisions in her character makes sense to me. So it doesn't bother me if she has an impact on things. They're gonna try to make their own story. They want their stories to matter. You can't fault them for that. So
Yeah, I'm excited to watch those leaks and see what
Mhm.
how they compare to the real
absolutely.
deal.
Yeah.
All right. Any final notes, guys?
I don't think so. I mean, it's really hard to tell for me. I don't know where this show's gonna go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna go back to Tatooine, of course, but as far as the plot line, will it be able to keep up what it built up with 5? Can we get
One
some
thing
more
about-
flashbacks?
With it going back to Tatooine, they have to make sure that there's no way Vader thinks Obi-Wan is living on Tatooine. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they have to make it beyond a shadow of a doubt. Vader cannot possibly think that's where Obi-Wan is staying. So we'll see.
Oh yeah, it wasn't until my either third or fourth watch through I realized that Vader was within, whatever, like 50 yards of Leia
Yeah.
on this when he was on Jabim. I thought that was kind of
Yep.
it didn't
But
ruin
I-
anything
I
for
thi-
me, but it was
I
like,
think
man,
that also
so
is
close.
you guys talked about last week, why did Riva not sense Leia's connection to the Force? I don't think she has a very strong connection to the Force yet. She might, like
Okay.
we said, she might have some, but I think if she did, Vader would have sensed her as well. I think she
Another
kind of
Force user.
yeah, exactly, especially someone related to her. So I think that with him, it's just more so, and also Kenobi's there. That's gonna be the overwhelming presence that he senses as well.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
if she did have a strong connection to the Force, I feel like he would have sensed her, and then maybe Riva would have noticed that connection as well. But it doesn't seem like she's really shown any signs. And for Owen's communication with Obi-Wan, it didn't seem like Luke really had been either. So I don't think really either of them have shown that yet. But I think it's probably partially because both parents are trying to keep that from happening. You know?
Yeah.
Do you think that in A New Hope, at the end of this show, they're going to release a new edition where Vader says, "That's a presence I've not felt since that time on Jabim"?
No, I don't think so.
No, I'm just kidding.
I don't think so.
Just kidding.
Because
Just-
also then what it does is it closes the capability of them seeing each other again, which would be a money pit or throwing away lots of money because they could
I don't-
easily make a season 2 if they wanted to.
even in season 2, man, he can't have any run-ins with Vader.
You don't think so?
Nah.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
think this has to be the last time.
Yeah. It's got to be a one-hit wonder.
One and done.
Give him something.
I think a season 2 would be cool that has both of them, but I don't think they can ever run into each other again.
Yeah.
Vader can't know about him.
Yeah.
I feel like.
He can't have any leads or anything.
Yeah.
So, positing that they do fight again, do you think that it will end with Vader thinking Kenobi's dead?
No.
No.
Nope.
I don't think so either.
Because it says if he thought that Kenobi was dead, then
He could still say that. That's a presence I've not felt since.
well, then
line?
he also said if he thought that he beat Kenobi, then he wouldn't think that he was still the learner.
Yep. Very true. Very true.
And then also in A New Hope, he says Kenobi is here, and Tarkin says, surely he's dead by now. So if Vader thought he had a confirmed death, there would be no nothing left up in the air for that.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
So yeah, that's my thoughts. All right, guys, this has been good. Took me a little while to get going. Not gonna lie, I was a little bit out of my zone.
Gotta warm up.
Had to warm up a little bit, but it's been a while. I haven't talked this much in quite a bit. I didn't have the vocal cords flowing like I do in my teacher days, where I'm just going all day. So,
Right.
Well, guys, it's been real. I'm looking forward to Wednesday. We'll have to record Wednesday night. We cannot wait. We're gonna watch it Wednesday and clear your schedule Wednesday night. That's when we're recording. Heck, I'm down for 4 a.m. Wednesday morning. I'm a teacher. I got nothing to do for 3 more months, so let's just do whatever you guys want to.
Oh man, I've been burned I've been burned too many times doing that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much
Boba
for
Fett.
listening or watching. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to our channel. It goes a long way. We're at almost 40. We'd love to get up to 100. We'd love to get up to 100,000 as well. So
I want that button.
I need some money.
Yeah.
So, guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for watching. And as always, may the Force be with you.